Hey everyone, I am Becky and welcome to Buzzing About Romance podcast. And joining me for this episode is co-host Heather. Hi Heather.
Hey Becky.
It's been a week in the book world.
Yeah, I have just been out of it. I'm a teacher, so I'm like barely hanging on to real life. But I was on TikTok for 5 minutes and I was like, what is happening?
So, this episode's actually dropping towards the end of June.
Oh, sorry.
But no, that's okay. But just know we are talking about events that happened at the beginning of June, at the end of May. An author took, debut author, she had 15 reviews on her Goodreads that were all 5 stars. Now, come on. These are going to be her alpha readers. These are going to be her editors. These are going to be her friends, right? I doubt they were like truly ARC readers that didn't know her. And then a reader posted her review of the book and gave it 4 stars. And the author, thinking she was funny, decided to take to TikTok and shame the reviewer for screwing up her perfect rating. And when she did this, she outed the reviewer's full name and picture. This debut author had almost 100,000 followers on TikTok that she is blasting this person out to. So this is another instance of authors behaving badly on reviews.
Yeah, it's very uncool. I think it's one way to lose readers. Epically lose readers.
It got so bad, Goodreads stopped allowing reviews or ratings because she had 675 one-star reviews of people just calling her out for being a not good human.
But also, it's a really great way to lose respect from fellow authors.
For sure. You know, it brings up because last summer I was very disgusted by the trend of authors using one-star reviews as laughter and fodder on TikTok. And it was kind of like, you know, the celebrity tweets that are bad kind of thing. That I think it's Jimmy Kimmel does that on his show where he has celebrities read tweets that are bad about themselves on. And I get that it's a skit and it's funny, but I find it so incredibly rude and disrespectful because tweets are for the general public. That's open for public consumption. When we write reviews, we are not writing them for the authors.
No.
We write them for fellow readers because if you're a reader, you are inherently part of the reading community and it is your job to share to fellow readers.
Right. And I read romance and I like my romance spicy. And so I might read a review to make sure that I'm reading something spicy. And because if it's closed door, if it isn't, if it's clean, it's probably not going to be on my Kindle.
Well, I had an issue a couple weeks ago. I was looking at a book because I was trying to try some new authors. And in the description, it said, this sweet romance. And sweet romance automatically makes me think it's going to be fade to black, closed door, or, you know, like barely a mooch on the lips. I ain't got time for that in my life. So I am scouring the reviews to find out what is this book.
I do the same thing. And so I try to write in my reviews. I try to be cognizant of like, and I get it. Not everybody wants spice in their romance, and that's fine.
Right.
So I try to write it, and so I appreciate other reviewers who will be like, "This is so spicy, my Kindle melted," and then I'm like, immediately.
Yeah. Yes, download. Thank you. That's why we use Pop over on the website. If you check out our reviews at bookcaseandcoffee.com or any of our quick shots, some of us will put the Pop in our reviews, and that's the put out.
Basically, mine don't.
I don't know that Jenny does either.
I'll have to start.
It's just a nice way for us to tell you at what point this book gets spicy. Because in all honesty, chili pepper scales are so subjective.
Mm-hmm.
And because what's spicy for Heather and I is too spicy for some people.
Like they would be real blushing.
Right. And also Heather and I don't it has to be something spectacular for us to read a slow burn.
Correct. And also, I think you and I have probably also talked about this. Like, you and I don't really have triggers. Like, I
Right.
can pretty much read
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't. And if I'm scandalized, it's really scandalous. And
Uh
you're scandalized, I mean, look out.
I we have a previous episode in the feed that I named Paneled Van and Handcuffs, and it's all about stalkers and kidnappers. And in the
Mhm.
whole episode, I just kept feeling like I kept saying like these books might not be for you if you have
Right.
triggers.
If you can't find the humor between, yeah.
Isn't that a great title for an episode though?
It is. I actually saw that and I was like, that's awesome. I should probably start my book list. I'll reread them.
Okay, so we still are doing our new segment with our romance term of the week. Some of these are terms you might be familiar with. Some of these might be terms you are not familiar with. Um, but today I thought we would start going down the rabbit hole of different character types. Because we haven't really explored a lot of character types in these terms of the week. So today's character type, we're starting right with the letter A.
Mm,
And we are going with the alpha hole
yes.
because Leah loves a good asshole.
Same.
Me too, Heather. Carolina and Jenny tend to not love them as much.
Mhm.
Which, you know what? Somebody asked me recently, and we'll get to the definition of alpha hole in a minute. Someone recently asked me, like, why do I have so many different co hosts that we rotate in and out for the episodes?
Mhm.
And this is kind of an example why, because you would get the same book recs constantly or same type
Mhm.
of book recs or
Yeah.
relationships from Heather and I or from Leah and I.
Yep.
But when we start twinkling in Lindsay, who is slowly coming to the dark side,
Mhm.
but then you have Jenny and Carolina that like a softer, squishier cinnamon roll, good guy type hero. And it's not that we don't like those, we just don't read as many. And they do. And so we continue to keep kind of our little co host circle because this way we're giving you a better variety.
Right. So not only character types do I find myself like being drawn to, but it's also a trope. Like there are specific tropes that I just won't read. Like
Friends
everyone
to
here
lovers
knows
because it's the worst.
I love friends to lovers. I don't like enemies to lovers. And people can hate me all they
Okay,
want.
wait.
I
You
do
don't like
not,
enemies to lovers,
not
but like
really.
mafia,
I know.
forced marriage.
Okay, that's different. I also, you know this about me, but I do not like rock stars. I don't know what it is. I probably should give some more a try, but I have a feeling there's a lot of alpha holes in Rockstar.
There are. Now, it's interesting because I love a rock star, but recently Leah read a book by an author that I like that was a rock star. And it was everything cliche and everything she
Mm.
hates about rock stars. And I read it and I was like, yeah, I did not like this book either. This is, again, everything I don't like, but it isn't. She just leaned into the rock star trope, the angst, the
Mm.
back and forth. And I think you have to be a special kind of author to pull that off. And I think it takes special kind of author to write alpha holes.
For sure.
So when we say an alpha hole, it is the squishy place in between an alpha and an asshole, where the redeemability of the character depends on the tolerance and opinion of the reader. Some readers may put down a book whose alpha hole clearly begins in asshole territory after chapter 1. Other readers may be willing to wait until chapter 10 or 30 to see if the author will write a satisfying grovel. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a perfect example of this is
Mm-hmm.
Made for Romeo by Natasha
Yes,
Madison.
I was just gonna say that because she like right before release was like, Romeo is really making people mad. And she even warned you when we were doing live, or maybe it was after her
No, when we
live.
did happy hours, she was like, you
Yeah.
guys, Romeo is not the same. And I think he went back to the way she used to write, like her Hollywood series or her
Hmm.
something so serious. Those guys were jerks.
Well, yeah, because freaking Nico, he did not grovel enough.
No.
And so I was like, okay, I know I'm gonna love him. And I had no idea why I knew I was gonna love him, but man, he is an asshole. And
But he
he
did the
really ticked a lot
work.
of people off.
He did the work and he
Mhm.
groveled. And, it's really
Oh yeah.
interesting. And I think this is going to inspire an episode later this summer about tropes we don't like or things that are difficult in romance. Because, like, some people don't
Mhm.
like miscommunication. And in this book, Romeo has cheated on the heroine when they were first together. So it's now a second chance romance. I just feel like it's so funny to me because the same people that are like hating on Romeo loved Only One Night, which is Manning's character.
Yes.
And Manning is still married, living with his wife while he is conducting a relationship with the hero. Like,
The heroine.
our heroine. Like, he
Yeah.
doesn't move out until almost 60% of the book.
Hmm.
And I'm like, so you can give that book 5 stars. He's blatantly cheating. But
Yeah, and
you,
I love both of those books.
I
I
love
love
both those
both
books
of
too.
them
I did
because
too.
Manning was not an alpha hole. Romeo, I think, started out as probably an alpha hole, and Gabrielle, she put him in his place without doing. I think there, yeah. There's
Anyway,
so many things about
there are
that
so
book,
many
but yeah.
things about that book. But I think it's kind of inspired us to figure out
Hmm.
an episode that we kind of talk and break apart some of these tropes and character or storyline things we don't like.
Yeah, and an alpha hole has to be like his soft spot has to be the heroine.
Yes. And he has to do the work.
Hmm.
There has to be work done that takes him from this weird, like, he's not a good guy, cannot root for him, to, oh my God, he is the one.
Yes. Like these two belong together. They have to stay together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm. Totally agree.
And it takes a very special author to be able to pull that out, and not always can an author do that.
Correct.
So let's get to this episode.
Let's.
And actually, Heather, as I was sitting here thinking about this episode, because I did a 2 hour, 4 hour round trip drive today. I was thinking about this episode, and anyway, we'll get to that. On this episode
Mhm.
of Buzzing About Romance, Heather and I are going to talk about book clubs. Ideas
Mhm.
of starting your own, from picking themes, titles, and ways to make sure you talk about books at least for a little while. But also, I feel the need to kind of trauma dump a little bit about bad book club experiences
Yeah.
because we all have had them.
Yes.
So let's talk book clubs, the good and the bad of them. Um, okay. So Heather, I know that you're part of our Buzzing Book Club, which is the Buzzing
Yeah.
About Romance sponsored book club that we meet once a month. Do you do a secondary in real life book club?
I do not. I have been a part of some online, and I think people wanted me to be in their book club, and then when I saw the books they were reading, I was like, no, thank you.
So,
Sorry.
yeah. So I used to, when my kids were little, my kids are now
Hmm.
college. And when my kids were little and I had more mom friends,
Hmm.
I did join a couple of different book clubs, and they were horrible. Like, I specifically remember going in asking, like, do you guys read romance? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, we love romance. And
Hmm.
the first book we did was like a book by Nora Roberts, which was fine because
Hmm.
a suspense book can really create a good selection for a book club. We did one of her Chesapeake Bay books. And then the next month, when they start to go picking the book selection, they did a like compilation of short stories by a mommy blogger, like a humor mommy blogger. And I'm like, oh, okay. So that's month 2. Month 3, I'm like, okay, we're going to get back to romance. Like, right? They promised me that they read romance. The next book
Mhm.
was a YA dystopian, and it wasn't. Um, I mean, it was during the things of like Cinder and
Yeah.
Hunger Games
Hmm.
and Divergent. It was not those titles. Like it was a historical dystopian with a nurse or a nun that kills vampires. Um, it was fine, but after that I quit.
Yeah, and I did, I guess one of the reasons that I maybe didn't do a book club outside of work is because I did book clubs with like my middle schoolers. So I would have to read the books that my students, so I was reading their books. And so in my free time, I obviously wanted to read like my own stuff. And that was at the time like 50 Shades of Grey came out or Twilight.
Yeah.
And to be honest, people couldn't read as fast as I was. So like I read the book and then I was like, okay, I want to talk about this book. And I was already on like book three and they were not even done with book one. And I'm like, I don't even, like,
Yeah.
so I think that there's some factors when you think about who you also have in your book club.
Yeah. So now our local library started, they call it the Meet Cute Book Club. It's an every other month romance book club. And they're meeting in person. I haven't made it yet. I'm hoping to go to June's because they're reading Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which is a book that's been on my TBR forever. And I'm actually getting ready on Monday to start a buddy read with Lindsay on it. It's a sapphic romance and perfect for June. Um,
Mhm.
but I just think book clubs are hard if you're a fast reader.
Yeah, or I think too if you're busy. So like I think about me, I was, when my kids were little, I was in grad school and I was working full time. I just like really truly didn't have time. You know what I mean? But and like some of my hockey mom friends are like, "Oh my gosh, we should start a book club." And I think my hockey mom friends are super fun and they would love that. But the truth of the matter is like we're so busy. We're just busy.
It is hard. But see, okay, so that's one of the things that I really love about a book club, though.
Hmm.
So I think that as a busy mom, particularly when my kids were involved in sports or, clubs and theater
Hmm.
shows and stuff like that, it was nice to know that one night a month, I got that break. It was my night to leave. I was not responsible for bedtime and bath time and running that night. That,
Hmm.
that got passed off to my partner and or to my parents if Mike had to work. And it was nice to know that I was going to go into a space where we could talk about a book, but also kind of just disconnect from being a mom.
For sure. I would agree. I also think what was daunting for me being more of an avid reader than some of my friends was that they kind of people were looking to me to like run it. And to be honest, it's like that was something I wrote. Like, I think it's fair if you do start a book club to like share the responsibility. So, like, our friend Demi is in a book club and they like rotate. So, that person picks the book, they pick the location. So, maybe it's not at someone's house, maybe it's at a library, a brewery, somewhere. And
Nice.
so they plan it. So, it's not the same person every month planning it because it, planning it takes a lot of work.
It does, and I love our book club.
Mhm.
I would not change anything about our book club. I like it. I like to
Mhm.
know that once a month I'm going to gather with my fellow romance readers. It's great community building, great community engagement. We do spend about the first hour talking about the book. Oftentimes we're joined by the author, and I like that we kind of get to pick each other's brain or talk about the things in the book that maybe we didn't love or why the author made the choice that they made. Um, because sometimes you read a book and you are like, huh, I don't know that I would have made this choice.
Mhm.
And again, we are very lucky because we're basically a book club 24/7. Because if you're
Oh,
reading a
right.
book and you go over to Discord and you're like, hey, anybody read this book recently? And they're all like, yes, don't do it. Or,
Well, that is the other thing. Like I think about like I'm in a fantasy hockey league with a bunch of women and the like I don't want to say bashing, but like the chirping back and forth. And so when I'm reading or one of us is reading a book, we'll text each other, and be like, "Oh my God, you have to read this book." That to me is like the fun part
yeah.
of reading because then, you know, you don't want to spoil it. And so I think that there could be some like banter and some fun like around the book club.
But I also think that there are a lot of people that, because of their jobs and because of their life, like busy with kids and stuff like that, joining a book club can also be hard because it's just one more time you have to socialize. It's one more expectation that you're going to pick a great read, or it's one more expectation that you're going to make a snack or, go over the top with a drink theme or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that that is the benefit of being a part of like our community,
Mm-hmm.
because like you can find someone that'll buddy read with you that you can chirp back and forth about a book with,
For
or
sure.
you can, be as involved or as uninvolved as you want. The space and the platform is there. And if you have an in-person book club, it's not the same.
No, and I agree. Like I think about like my best friend lives in Florida and I live in Minnesota, obviously. So like I think having a virtual option is fun because then you can
No, your best friend
have
lives in Ohio.
oh sorry, yeah,
Did you
she does.
forget? Just kidding.
When I say Jenny has been my best friend since like
I'm just
seventh
kidding.
grade and I'm like 45. But I like the virtual option because I say like, oh, my friend lives here, my friend like I know like, you know, it's
No,
you know what I mean? So it being virtual makes it easy to like to also connect with people. So it doesn't need to be local.
yeah. No, it's so funny because I was talking to my mother the other day about something and something came up about book club. And I said, oh my God, yes. I would think I was telling her about your boys and tennis and something like that. And she's like, does she live here? And I said, no, Mom, she lives in Minnesota. And she's like,
What?
okay. She goes, but you haven't been to Minnesota. I'm like, no,
I
November.
don't know too.
Hopefully we get to hug for the first time in
Right.
November.
Well, I like whenever, yeah. So I think there's some probably benefit to doing book clubs with people that you don't, like making new friends is fun. Um, but also then there's probably some comfort of having like a local,
I'm
maybe,
sure there
I don't know.
is. I think though that in this day and age when we are socializing so much, so much of our life is thrown into people, that sometimes it's nice to have options that are unpeopley. Like,
I
so
agree.
I before the pandemic, I had joined a silent book club and I need to start it up again because it was fantastic. It
What?
was Have you never heard of this?
No, tell me more.
So it was for 2 hours a month. We would meet at one of the local coffee shops. We would all sit around at the same table. You'd have your snack, you'd have your drink. You would spend the first hour and a half just sitting and reading whatever it was you were reading. And then
Mm-hmm.
we dedicated the last half an hour of the evening to chit chatting and catching up with everybody.
Oh, that is the best.
Isn't that a great
That
idea?
sounds amazing. Actually, there was a bar I saw, or a brewery, a local brewery here that I think did that. And I sent it to our friend Demi, who's in our
Uh-huh.
book club, who I just happened to meet through our
Which
book
is
club.
so
And she
awesome.
lives like a half hour from me. Oh my gosh, I love that idea. I
I
might
did
have
too.
that.
I think I need to start it up again. One, it will get me out of the house, and we all know that Becky needs to learn to leave the house every once in a while.
Same.
But it was so nice because it was just, and actually, so Mike listens to a podcast called Play Retro, and it's about retro gaming. And the guy was reviewing this little handheld device that looks kind of like a squat little Game Boy action, but it's actually like a Raspberry Pi. It's like a operating system that plays all the old retro games. So it plays like all the old Game Boy, Game Boy Color,
Mm-hmm.
Game Boy Advance, all in this little handheld device. And they're all at his fingertips. It's on a memory card. He doesn't need Wi Fi or anything, it doesn't connect. And he was like, I really want this. And it was $80. And I'm like, perfect. Because you can now play that and we can go sit at the winery outside in their patio.
Mm-hmm.
I can read my book. You can play your Game Boy and I won't feel bad for ignoring you.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love the idea of a silent book club. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I know about like 7 moms that would love a silent book club because we just never have time to like, just be and be quiet. Like my 12-year-old, I announced at dinner just like 10 minutes ago, I'm recording tonight. No one bother me. Comes barging in, just, you know,
Yeah.
had to ask a really unimportant question. So, like, we never have time to just be, right?
Right. But think about it like a Sunday afternoon when no one has a sports thing going on through the summer,
Yeah.
or, even a Wednesday evening during the week. Mike used to say to me, he was like, why do you leave so early to go pick up Sydney from theater? Because
So I can read.
do you know what an hour in the car reading while you wait for your child to come out? It's gold.
I put a note too. I love the idea of having a book club where one, the people can check out the book from the library. But I really love an audiobook option because there are a lot of people who, like I said, don't read as fast. And so if you think like they can listen to the book, which would be really helpful for
It's also
people.
an accessibility issue. Like within our
Mhm,
virtual book club, I am trying to make sure that our titles are, we use Kindle Unlimited because we
mhm,
do have some international members and not all libraries are the same. So we use Kindle Unlimited for our borrow program, but we do try to pick options that have an audiobook on them also, because we have several members that are more audiobook readers than they
mhm,
are ebook readers or physical book
mhm,
readers. And it's also an accessibility issue. We have a couple that prefer audiobook because of comprehension issues, or,
mhm,
I think about Gretchen. It's easier for her. She doesn't have the weight on her hands.
mhm.
Um, so it's good to make sure that if you are going to have a book club, that you pick a title that is accessible.
Yeah, and I also think if you're interested in like so there's a radio personality here. She does a morning show and she likes to read. And she has a book club. And so like her name is Fallon. So Fallon has a book club that she puts out to people. She announces her book and then she meets somewhere local. So like Abby Jimenez, who is a romance writer, she lives about 10 minutes from me. She was this month's book club person and she was there. So I think also kind of think outside the box and look around for already established
Oh,
book
for sure.
clubs.
For sure. Okay, so I did kind of make a little list of how to
Mhm,
find other readers, either virtually or in person.
mhm,
And because I think that that's something, especially as a romance reader, we
mhm.
all say almost daily, I don't think I know any romance readers in my real life. All my romance
Yeah.
readers are online.
Yeah, or I think sometimes for me, I think people don't realize that they're reading romance or that they'd
Right.
even like it.
Well, there is that. And again, this brings up a whole nother topic, but I recently had a discussion with Lindsay where she was going to her knitting club and they were talking about books at her knitting club. And someone's like, oh, indie books, they're not as good as traditional published, so I don't read them. And Lindsay's like, I almost hooked her. And I'm like, okay.
And that's so funny because I think the opposite, actually, sometimes.
Um, yeah, we're very indie heavy, but I think that there is this disconnect between indie and trad pub still that,
Hmm.
we have to keep doing our best to make sure that we are talking about indie and that they are good, if not better, that there are more options than just Berkeley
Hmm.
and Avon and Harlequin. There are other great romance options out there.
I think too, the difference I am finding with my friends is I read on a Kindle or or I read on my an e-reader on my iPad or my phone through an app. And a lot of people who they still like those physical books. And when I say we obviously like our physical trophy books, but that's what they are as trophies. These people bend the spines and read the physical pages.
Yeah, they do.
And I have said to people, but how do you like, man, how do you keep up on your Goodreads? And they're like, what are you talking about? So I think people go to Target or they go to Barnes and Noble, and so they really want to know. And I'm like, you're not going to find the authors that I read often at those places. You can get them on Amazon. I will send you a list
Right.
and they'll be at your house in like 2 days.
Sometimes faster.
For sure.
I also think, though, too, because we do read a lot more electronically, I think at this point it is 45% read electronically or audiobook, and then it's like 55% still read paperback, hardback. It's not quite half, but it definitely still is leaning towards the physical book over the electronic book. But I think that part of the problem is people think I'm just sitting on my phone or sitting on a tablet. They don't realize that I'm reading a book and they can't see the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, for sure.
I do feel like that I need a t-shirt or a sticker or a hat or something that says, I read romance. Ask me about the HEA.
Ask me about the book I'm reading because I mean, or don't. If those that old TikTok challenge.
Yeah.
What would make a kidnapper kick you out of his van? Oh, I would just never shut up about books. You'd
Yeah.
be like, you're out, lady.
Ask me what I'm reading. And wow.
Yes.
So here are some ideas that I had that I thought could be helpful if you're trying to think about starting your own book club. First up, choose a name for your book club. This can be a fun way to make your club feel official and give it a unique identity. I think it helps. So we recently switched things up and we are now the Buzzing Book Club. I made the choice to do that just to make sure that we are approachable for anybody, wherever they are in their part of their life. And so same crazy book club that we've always had, we just gave it a new name. Create a social media presence. Use platforms like Facebook or Instagram to create page or group for your book club. This is really helpful too. If you live in an area that has, like where I live, there's a Facebook group that's like Finley happenings or whatever. Post in those groups and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm starting a romance book club. If you're interested in meeting locally to talk about romance books, here. Or if you're in a mommy group that's for your area, like a play group or something like that, you might have to do some weeding out. It might be better to start virtually at first or meet at your library. But that's another resource too. Ask your local librarian if they have a community space that you could use. Because let me tell you, librarians like a book club.
They do. And like I said, I think I said before, breweries, totally open.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Cute little niche coffee shops.
Yeah. Just to ask, hey, I would like to have my book club start meeting here. Is it okay if we push 4 tables together? Most of them are going to be like, yeah, what night are you coming in? We can even have it set up for you. Decide on your meeting schedule. Determine how often your group will meet, whether it's once a month, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, and make sure you communicate that clearly to the members. Don't try to organize your date around everybody.
Nope.
Because everybody's not always going to be able to come.
Nope. For sure not.
And it's okay to start small too. It's okay for it to be 5 or 6 of you. And 2 don't come and it's just 4 of you, then fine. It's just 4 of you. It's fine.
That's totally fine.
Heather and I can have a book club, just the 2 of us.
For sure.
We do. We call them quick shots.
Yeah, we do. I also think you have to go in with an open mind and be flexible. And I know that not everyone is a flexible thinker, and that is hard for some people. There inevitably will be somebody who will take book club very, very seriously. And then there will be inevitably people who maybe others would think that they need to take it more seriously. but it isn't, you can't expect people to be the same as you. They are going to come to it with different experiences, different thoughts. So you have to be open to that.
And some people might just be coming because they need a break and a cup of coffee. Or if you're having it
Mhm.
at the wine bars, they might be coming just because they need to get out of their house and have a glass of wine with friends. And they're just going to sit there and listen, talk about the book. Don't feel the need to put somebody on the spot and be like, so, Heather, do you feel the hero redeemed himself on page 297? Or do you think he should have done it sooner on page 152? Like, don't do that.
Mhm.
Don't do
Yeah,
that.
don't be that person. Mm-mm.
Um, and
No.
then select a book. Start with a book that you love or is a popular title that you think would generate interest. So if you want your book club to be a super spicy
Mhm.
book club, then pick a title that's being, you know, lauded for being super spicy. Pick up a Sarah Kate and go with
Yeah.
praise. You know, use TikTok, use Book Talk to see what books are being talked about, what kinds of things
Mhm.
are generating buzz. If you know that you guys are going to read something on the softer side, so you want something that straddles the line between women's fiction and romance, then maybe you pick up Emily Henry's Book Lovers or one of her people we meet on vacation or something like that.
I also think Megan Quinn would probably be a good one because it's a like a very rom-commy.
Yeah.
That might be a good
Or
one.
if you're thinking about fantasy, go with like The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. That book is, you know, a month out of release and it's still sitting at the top of the charts on Amazon. But look for titles, like go over to Amazon or look at your Barnes and Noble. Look at your, and that's another resource, your local bookshop, your Barnes and Noble. Go there and talk
Mhm.
to the person and say, okay, listen, I'm starting a romance book club. And can you give me 2 or 3 titles that are really super popular and trendy right now in the area? And maybe they'll tell you, you know, you should totally check out Tie Me Down by Melanie Harlow because that's one that's selling in that area. Awesome. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Use that title. I think that if you do stuff like that, the first title will get people in. You know, I was
Yeah, for
promised a
sure.
romance book club. They picked a romance title I was okay with. And then I got bait and switch.
Yeah,
Um,
I also think like I have a couple friends who like one of my really good friends in real life, like my neighbor, she likes to read, but she also really likes books that are movies. So she likes to read the book and then we watch the movie and then we compare about
yeah.
how the difference. And so I think that's super fun. Um, so kind of think about that or make it like a food theme. I just saw like these super adorable like charcuterie like individually charcuterie boards. And I was like, I want to do a book club and meet at a park. I was like,
Heather,
that'd be perfect for the silent book
you
club.
should see my Pinterest boards for when we have our first Buzzing About Romance book retreat. Like, this is why we need Patreon members so I can plan this. Because if not, I don't know what I'm going to do with all these ideas. I get a weekly text from Nikki asking me to update her on our Patreon numbers because she really needs the book retreat. The other thing you want to make sure you're doing is giving members enough time to read the book before the first
Yeah.
meeting. You know, not
Yeah.
everybody reads super fast. People are busy. So make sure you
Mhm.
plan out at least 30 days. Um, and then length of book can also play into this. Overly long or complex books could have people not wanting to read it. I mean, how many rom-com movies? Because recently we're working on another episode. Heather and I have been going down the rom-com movie
Mhm.
rabbit holes. And I was watching the movie Date Night and he read the, or no, what, it wasn't Date Night. Maybe it was Crazy Sexy Love that Steve Carell is in also.
Mhm.
And he read the book because he was in a couples book club with his wife and he read the book and she didn't. And so because she's like it was boring and it was too long and he's like but I did it for us Like, so
Yeah.
just be thoughtful, that if you pick a really long book, you might not keep people's interest.
I also feel like indie books are a little bit more, I want to say manageable, and they don't take as long.
Yeah.
So I think starting there would be great.
Um,
Also, if you're like a theme,
well,
like
theme.
me, everyone wants to read hockey romance after they talk to me. So I would start there.
The other thing too is put some discussion questions together. If you're the host that month, know you have discussion questions. If you know that the host next month that you're going to their house, they're not quite as organized as you, just have some questions in your back pocket. No one's going to be pissed if you come to every book club with discussion questions. Um,
Also, if you're not sure about discussion questions, you can just Google it. There,
yeah,
somebody out there maybe has read that book and has discussion questions. The other thing I was going to say is our local library has book club kits. So they have kits that are book club with like 6 or whatever books in there, and they already have the questions.
nice. Well, and there are a couple really great books, and we'll get to those titles that authors have put book club packets in the back of the book.
So
Um,
smart.
so how to get people to want to be a part of your book club? We talked about a theme.
Mhm.
Venue can matter, activities or games, and you can do a small giveaway, like a small gift pack or something if you wanted, but I don't think you have to do that.
Mm-mm.
Um, I
I'm going
do,
to add, don't make people wear hard pants. I
right.
think
No hard
I
pants.
honestly would love it if my friend said, we're doing a pajama book club. Everyone come in their pajamas. I'd be down. Or if you aren't wearing leggings or joggers, you don't get to come in.
Yeah. I mean, because hard pants are no fun.
Zero fun.
I do think it is okay if you are meeting in person to
Mhm.
expect people to unplug.
Fair. I would agree.
Putting your phone on do not disturb so that if your babysitter or your spouse needs to get hold of you, they can still get through to you.
Mhm.
But stay off your phone. You don't need to be in social media. Save that for when it's snack break, or save that for the end of the night if you want to take some pictures. But just disconnect and be present in the book. I think that that makes a big difference.
I would agree 100%.
Okay, Heather, so let's talk about some book club titles or authors we think would have good book club selection. So if you are thinking of starting a romance book club, here are some books Heather and I think would make great selections.
Okay, I did just more series.
That's
I feel
okay.
like you can start
Okay.
on these.
So these are series you think someone could start.
Yeah, so I think if you like people who think that they like the action movies or like romantic suspense, I would do Silverstone Tire by Susan Stoker. It's a found family, it's former military, there's some action, some steam, not overly.
Okay. One of my first selections is Real by Kennedy Ryan. And this book deals with some heavier topics, but it has some great story. It has some phenomenal rep. It deals with the Harlem Renaissance because it's taking place on a movie set about a Harlem Renaissance um, singer, and it's really beautiful. And that book was such a great story. The audiobook is phenomenal in that book also. And in the back of that book, Kennedy Ryan, along with her editor, provided a book club kit and has tons of discussion questions. And so you get some historical feels, you get what it's like to be on a movie set, and then you get a romance. And also, the heroine has lupus, and his mother
Oh,
had a chronic illness that she passed. I think she passed from MS. So, lots of rep in that book. And Kennedy Ryan is a phenomenal
yep.
BIPOC author.
I have Marie Johnston. She has the Oil Barons series. Her first book in the Oil Barons series is Make Me Whole. It's a small town single dad.
Love that
Um,
series.
It's very good.
It is
Very
so
good.
good. And also that would be a great one too, like location because she is that book takes
Hmm.
place in North Dakota.
Yep, North Dakota.
And she really gives us the feel of what it's like to live in North Dakota. So you get kind of
Yes.
location vibes, and if you liked the show Fargo, um, and you kind of like the setting and there's not as much satire as there is in Fargo. Um,
No. And actually, there is one. So if you're kind of looking for like, you maybe want to have it at a brewery, Make Me Exhale is a Grumpy Sunshine. It's book 5.
did
And
you read that
she,
one?
no, not yet, but she
Bawled my
owns
eyes
like,
out. Bawled my eyes
okay.
out. It's so good
I just really love Marie Johnson. So I really feel like any of the books in the series should be great, would be great for
for
book
a book
club.
club. The Ripple Effect by Jay Bensington.
Mm,
Bankston. We read it for February book club, and this book is a trapped by weather phenomenon. But the book one in the series, they are trapped by wildfires. Um, so there's kind of some emotion and angst, but also HEAs in the end. And they are rock stars, but not typical.
nice.
And I cannot tell you what happens in the ripple effect that is their weather issue, but there's big emotion. So if you are looking for a book with big emotion and kind of that um forced proximity, check out the ripple effect. Super good. And the
But it's
audiobook
awesome.
is read by Stella Hunter and Teddy Hamilton.
Oh,
And Teddy said that this is the only book he's read that has given him a hangover. He had to take 3 days off recording after he recorded this book because of the
those
emotions in it.
two are amazing. Anything with Teddy Hampton. Okay, so it really wouldn't be a podcast unless we talk about this author. So I'm gonna say Sawyer Bennett's
She's on
Arizona
my
Vengeance
list.
series. I know,
See,
but
and I
I'm
said
picking
Baden.
right, but I'm picking the Vengeance because I don't know what it is about that crew. I like seriously love them more than the Sun. And okay, I can't even tell you. I would say either do Bishop because it's like the first in the series and it's like the coach's daughter, which I really love, fake relationship. But let's be real, I really love Dax. And I think that that is
Dax
so
is a
well
good
written.
one.
It is a marriage of convenience. She has a chronic health disorder and it is so well done.
So the other one that I think would be a really good book club selection out of that one. No, it's not what you are
Okay.
saying. Steel.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's marriage in crisis. Now she touts it as a second chance romance, and every time Sawyer and I talk, I tell her it is not. It is marriage in crisis because even though they are legally separated, they are not divorced.
Correct.
But that one deals with, how you're first married and you let things go
Mhm.
and the acceptance of the tolerance you create for your partner. Like, okay, well, things will get better next year, or we can do this for one more year, where finally you just hit your end. And I think that Steele has tons of discussion points in it that for a group of readers who love hockey romance, that want
Mhm.
some emotion, that book has some good stuff in it.
We just
Also
named
wild
four.
because, it's
I
wild.
We just named 5 books in that series, so I feel like I need to just start an Arizona Vengeance book club. And the audios are stellar,
They are stellar. I agree.
amazing. So,
Now, my Sawyer Bennett pick for a book club was Baden, which is book one in the Pittsburgh Titan series. And the
mhm.
only reason I say that one was it is a super slow burn. So it'd be a great
Yep,
pick if you have people that are in
yes,
your book club that are not quite full romance readers yet.
yes,
Because you read that book and you will be a full time romance reader after that book.
I agree.
Baden is this
Oh,
hero
um,
that just strength and love and kindness. And earlier in the podcast, I said, I don't like friends to lovers, but those two are friends to lovers, bonded by trauma. And just, he wins your heart in that book. But he's not even my
so
favorite
good.
in that series, but I love him.
Yeah. Like again, I feel like we could probably do like a Pittsburgh Titans book club.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Um, so I have also The Cabin by Jacinda Wilder.
Mm.
So this is a different romance book. The book is written in two parts. And the first part of the book, you find out that the heroine's husband is dying of cancer. And he doesn't
Mhm.
tell her until like his last 2 weeks. And then there's a second half of the book. And there's, again, big emotion, big feels in that book. Um, the hero from the first half does some things to manipulate some things to help the heroine after he's gone. And if you liked the movie P.S. I Love You, um, that was out a couple years ago, and I think Bridget Fonda is in that book or in that movie. Um, it has those kind of vibes.
Yeah, it was very emotional. I started it and I was crying. I'm allergic to emotion sometimes, so.
Hilary Swank, P.S. I Love You,
Oh yeah.
had Hilary Swank and Gerard Butler, and super super fantastic movie. Harry Connick Jr. is in that movie. So if you liked that movie, then read The Cabin.
If you think that your book club can handle some spicy book clubs, Rex, I'm going to recommend the Boardroom series by Linda, is it Eicher?
Iker. Oh, that's
Linda Eicher. The audios are amazing.
Lydia
They
Dornay.
are they are very I felt like they were quick reads. There's a lot of discussion points and so hot.
I can't believe you hadn't read that series before I
I know.
recommend it.
So good. So again, if you think that your friends can handle some spice, I would pick that series because I think it's just like a unknown gem that needs
Yeah,
more people need
I
to read it.
agree. And it's also an older series, but it holds up because Heather and I both have recently reread it and it
Hmm.
holds up. So I picked After Hours on Milagro Street by Angelina M. Lopez. This book deals with development in a small town, family drama, Hispanic heritage, and being a daughter of other strong Hispanic women. The plight that happens to a lot of Midwest small towns is like railroads get rerouted and moved, freight gets moved out of their area, and they no longer become these important, transportation depot type spots, and what can happen in a small town and the politics. Again, a phenomenal book. It is written and it pops at 2%.
Mm.
And can be a very hard heroine to love, and he is this squishy like beta character. And I just think it so many great conversation pieces in that book.
Do we want more?
Yeah. Yeah, I want all of them. I still have like 6 more to go.
I have the Wilder Brothers series, so One Way Back to Me by Carrie Ann
Oh,
Ryan.
that's a good series. Any Carrie Ann Ryan book would be a
I
really
know.
good.
I just her tattoo series. So if you feel like people might want a little bit more of the gritty kind of characters, I would 100%
Well,
recommend
and the Montgomerys
these.
love cheese. So, like,
Yeah,
theme built in.
for sure. So the Wilder brothers, I really like this. They're a family. Like I love like the boys really tried to continue to be a family and how supportive I think because I'm a boy mom. I love that. But it's a really great series.
Yeah.
Some steam, but Carrie Ann is just a really great writer.
She does, and she actually deals in her Montgomerys. There's some issues with like chronic illness
Mhm.
and infertility and stuff like that, and adoption and all sorts of things. So she is not afraid to shy away from some harder topics too, but bundled up in a nice HEA.
Mhm.
Okay, so Summer Proposal by Vi Keelan. It is a standalone book. It has hockey. And also the hero, um, I don't want to say it's miscommunication, but misdirection. He doesn't fully disclose, and our heroine is super smart. It's a really great read. I highly recommend that one.
I love romantic suspense. So if you have friends that are kind of into the, romantic suspense, I think that the Sentinel Security series by Anna Hackett is a really great series. Wolf is book one, and the heroine is Lainey, is a badass CEO, and she girl bosses real close to the sun, and she is way more famous and way cooler than the hero. I
Awesome.
really like her, and I think there's a lot of really great talking points around like the strong heroine, and it's very good.
Awesome. So I have a romantic suspense series, Maya Banks KGI series. Those books do stand on their own, even though it's kind of a family series and they're all interconnected. You can just pick up in the middle. Leah and I did a quick shot of romance on the seventh book, and she had to start there, and it worked. It did really well. And some of the ones deal with like some telepathy and paranormal pieces, and others are just straight out suspense with kidnapping and ex-military guys. I really recommend them. They're very, very good. Also, if you want romantic suspense, try Rena Morgan's Men of Haven. Those are
Mhm.
also, and again, both those series, Trad Pub, great audiobooks, but super spicy.
Um, I have a book. It is Made for You by Natasha Madison. It is book two in her Made for series.
So good.
It is a grumpy sunshine. He is a hockey player. It deals with mental health. I love, 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 love this book. And I think that she has this giant family series. They play a role, but you don't have to know who all of the family
You
is to
don't, not
enjoy
on
this
that
book.
one. No.
And it is so well written, and it will make everybody want to go into a deep Natasha Madison dive.
I also think that's a really great book that deals with when a system fails you.
Yep.
When a system that should catch you doesn't catch you. Um, and how even if a system fails us, we can rebound. It just is harder. And I think that book does a really great job of that. My selection, and this is really for Jenny and Lindsay, Forest for the Trees by Kilby Blades. It is part of Penny Reed's
Mm.
Green Valley, Tennessee world, Smarty Pants romance. Forest for the Trees is book one in her or her hero series, I think. And it deals with national park, but there's some funny, quirky things in it. It takes place in Tennessee. It's great. I really, really like that book. And she makes these bacon bites that would make a great appetizer to have with your book clubbers. Do you have any other books you think we should add for book club?
Well, I have another spicy
Go
recommendation.
with your spicy rack.
The original Wicked Horse by Sawyer Bennett.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you again, you could also do Vegas. But then I'm going to tell you, if you do Vegas, then you're going to want to read
Jameson.
Jameson Security Force,
Yeah.
which is not terrible because honestly, but the Wicked Horse series, so spicy, and the characters are amazing. Yeah.
So if you are looking for books with deep emotion and a unique writing style and romantic suspense, try A.L. Jackson's books. Any of them, Redemption Hills, her Kiss the Stars series, all of these books. And she has a new series out that is a small town. Book one is a single dad. It's called Love Me Today. And when I tell you this book broke me, it broke me. There was kidnapping. I'm just telling you, read A.L. Jackson. So those are our selections for book club picks. And if you are interested and would like to check out the Buzzing About Romance Buzzing Book Club, we would love to have you. Send me
Mhm.
an email at thebees@bookcaseandcoffee.com or use our contact form on our website, and we would happily love to have you join us for one of our upcoming book clubs. And if you like it, then you can join our Patreon and come every month. So, Heather, It's
Mhm.
time for
Book.
Book of the Week. It is Book of the Week time. Heather, what's your Book of the Week?
Well, I am in MM phase again. I mean, it's June, so I'm
Shocking.
reading all the LGBTQ plus A, all of that. I'm reading it all. I started with Sworn Enemy. It's a Wild Heart Ranch book by Kelly Fox. I devoured it in about 5 minutes. So now I'm reading Good Behavior. It's book 2 in the series. It is his name is Ignacio, and he is out of prison, and he comes across his prison therapist who he might call daddy.
Daddy.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
wears like khaki pants and like starched shirts and
So a
I'm
real
down.
daddy.
Hmm.
Socks and sandals kind of daddies.
Hmm.
Uh
No, like a dom daddy.
oh. Oh. Okay. He's a good boy. Um, so my book of the week is Take Me by Stacey Kennedy. This is book 5 in her Phoenix Sex Club series. This is a voyeur series. No real BDSM. It is more about role playing and putting on a sexual performance for the audience. This is the story of Nessa and Ronan. She has a stalker and is attacked, and he is assigned to be her bodyguard protector. He is a former military veteran. He has a dog, a service dog for PTSD, and just so much good rep in this book. And yeah, there's a kidnapping. Anyway,
Love it.
I love that series. If you have not read the Phoenix Club series by Stacey Kennedy, I cannot recommend it enough. And actually, it would make a good book club selection. So just saying. Okay. Swag packs are out to everybody for the month of June, and I am so excited to share our swag pack sponsoring authors. Swag pack sponsoring authors for June. It is Britt Benson and Karen Gray. Britt Benson books that you should check out is Between Never and Forever. This is her latest release. It is out now and available on Amazon and is part of the Kindle Unlimited program. It is a rock star, single father, small town, and second chance romance. It is angsty and spicy standalone contemporary romance. And I recently just read Britt Benson's Life Duet. And it is not a typical book for me, but her writing and her characters were stellar. I am a fan. So you should absolutely be checking out her books. And then our other sponsoring author for the month of June is Karen Gray. If you haven't read Child of Mine, it's a rom-com set in Boston in the 80s. It is a grumpy sunshine single mom romance, and I cannot recommend it enough. Swag packs go out to Fancy Drinks, Cold Brew, and Queen Bee tiers, and we still have fun buzzing about romance exclusive stickers, mood reading cards, and other fun things. These are mailed monthly on the 5th of the month, and we do ship internationally. There is no wait time on this perk to kick in. It starts as soon as you join. So if you join at the $10 level today, I will have that swag pack out to the mail to you tomorrow. Because of our amazing Patreons, we are still able to bring you 3 episodes a week. And we are working on our goal of 75 members so we can plan our first ever book retreat, which will include a book club meeting. We will have an in-person book club, theme and everything, probably in our pajamas with cocktails and mocktails. All members of the Patreon get exclusive episodes along with perks like Buzzing Book Club. And it's a good time. We're a fantastic community. You should join us.
You should.
And backed by popular demand is Summer Reading Challenge. It is so much fun. You can find all the details on our website at bookcaseandcoffee.com/events. Summer Reading Challenge runs from June 21st to July 31st. And we added some self-care bookish challenges this year. We encourage you to take a book date and to spend some time at a bookshop because those are
Yay.
self-care.
Yeah.
So make sure you check out those. And if you have not subscribed to our newsletter, you should check that out on our website. And that will give you an update of all the fun events we have coming up. Heather, thanks for being a member of my book club. And thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.